It's a glorious time to be alive, David, and there are multiple reasons for that. Let's see if we can find one today in the jihad news itself. How about right here in the United States, in the good old USA, where it can't happen here? We have here today breaking news. We got actually breaking news in This Week in Jihad. Right now, it's happening. This is a developing story, ladies and gentlemen. Very exciting. A 19-year-old man from Michigan, of all places, and there he is. Let me get his name here. His name is Amar Abdul Majid Mohammed Saeed. Amar Abdul Majid Mohammed Saeed. Amar... I can't do it from memory. Amar Abdul Majid Mohammed Saeed. I wonder if he had any trouble remembering all that. But in any case, he is a 19-year-old man from Melvindale, Michigan. And he is a former member of the Michigan Army National Guard. And it turns out now that he is a member of also the Islamic State, and that he was plotting a mass murder attack at a military base in Warren, Michigan.
Well, that'd be a first.
Well,
A jihad attack on a military base? Never happened.
yeah, we haven't had that one since Fort Hood, if I recall correctly. Or was Chattanooga after Fort Hood? People don't remember.
Can't remember. I can't even. Yeah, people, in case anyone doesn't know, I was joking. There have been multiple attacks on military installations.
Indeed. We have Fort Hood, where in 2009, a Muslim army major at the time, what the heck was his name, David? Man, memory is getting bad. But anyway.
Talk about the Fort Hood massacre? I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue. As soon as you say it, I'll say, of course. And then there was Muhammad Abdullah in Chattanooga. Oh, Abdul Malik Hassan. Abdul Malik Hassan was Fort Hood. And Muhammad Abdullah was Chattanooga. He killed 4 people. Hassan, 13 people.
Nidal Hassan.
Nidal Hassan. Yikes.
Yeah, you gotta keep. It's too many to keep track of, Robert.
Okay. Nidal.
But it's all.
Nidal
but
Malik
it's always.
Hassan.
But no matter how many people are killed, it's always a small price to pay for our diversity, which is our strength.
Yes, that's right. It's a good thing that Michigan is not full of a bunch of guys building Ford cars anymore. Instead, it is filled with jihadis. And that is a considerable step up if you've ever driven a Ford. And so, onward and upward. Diversity is our strength. And people have missed the poem. Should I redo the poem? What do you think, David? Was it good enough to repeat?
Yeah, didn't people already suggest that we should chat for the first minute or so?
Yeah, I forget these things. After all, it's supposed to be a cold open, as we say in the business.
It is supposed
to.
Yeah, you can always say no. You can always say no. Live with it.
Yeah,
Too bad.
Good. Okay.
Make sure you pay attention on time next time if you want the poem. Otherwise, check it out after we're done.
The only thing that makes me hesitate about that is the possibility of technological shenanigans. You're doing it again. Every time I move up, you move higher. Now
that's just me like stretching, because over time I slouch down more and more, and then it hurts my back, so I straighten up and then I get higher.
Okay.
Hang on. I can fix it. I got the solution right here. Hang on. Ready?
Yes.
Oops, wrong way. How about now?
You're getting into strike the next territory here. All right. Yeah. The only thing that makes me hesitate is that if there's some technological reason, like the people say it didn't start until after or something like that, that's what makes me hesitate.
That's true. That does happen just randomly. It says you're live, and it's actually there's a 5 or 6 second delay before it actually makes you live.
All right, let's do it one more time because I liked this one. Ali Dawa, he's our man. He leads the Muslims to Christ. It's because he loves the Taliban and says death for apostates is nice. He's a double agent for light and truth. He makes conversions go through the roof. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is today's literary masterpiece. Literature has declined in the West in the 21st century, and I'm just glad to be able to be in the line of Shakespeare and T.S. Eliot and all the gang. You know, it's a great honor for me. In any case, David, we got jihad. We got more jihad than just Michigan. Since we're talking about the United States, since we're talking about the good old USA, let's talk about another American. We have seen this chap before. That is Mohammed Chipa. And Mohammed Azharuddin Chipa. That is, I'm not saying cheaper. It's Chhipa. Chipa.
Yeah, it's because he makes a noise that goes cheep, 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 cheep.
Yeah, so he's a Chipa. And he got 30 years in prison, 30 years of prison dawa in Alexandria, Virginia, for efforts to collect money for the Islamic State. And so we got Ammar, I never remember that guy's name. Ammar Abdulmajid Mohammed Saeed. Ammar Abdulmajid Mohammed Saeed. It actually has a certain kind of rhythm to it. I think the other report I was looking at had another name in there. Right? Wasn't it? Nope. Ammar Abdulmajid Mohammed Saeed. 4 names. It's a lot of names.
Never have too many names.
So Mohammed Chipa, he was providing the dough, and Ammar Abdulmajid Mohammed Saeed was going to actually blow stuff up and kill people. But Chipa was just soliciting donations for the Islamic State through social media in Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia. I used to live there, David. I wonder if I ever ran into this guy. Passed by him on the street. I don't know. In any case, Mohammed Chipa will be concentrating on prison dawa for quite a while. And what I wanted to ask you actually about the other guy, Ammar Abdulmajid. I don't know why this trips me up here tonight. Ammar Abdulmajid Mohammed Saeed. He joined the Michigan Army National Guard. He must have been a great patriot. Am I right?
Well, you have a couple of possibilities. You can have someone who joins the military, right? So they join the National Guard or something like that. And then they find out over time. In other words, other Muslims call them out. You're part of the U.S. military, buddy. You are in all kinds of trouble with Allah. So let us tell you what you need to do to make this right. So it's possible that someone could join with good intentions and then be educated by other Muslims that, hey, you are on the side of the U.S. military, which is making mischief in Muslim lands, and therefore you are condemned by Allah. So that's a possibility. Or it's just you've got people who are long-term thinking and, hey, I want to do jihad. What better way to prepare than by joining the U.S. military? They can train me in how to use these weapons and so on. And then I can use the skills for my future attacks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. You never know. We really we'll seriously never know which one it was because, of course, Western authorities, American authorities, will never get into this. They probably won't ever try to find out themselves what was going on because to do so would be Islamophobic.
Yeah, the only way you actually find out is if like a dude converts at some point and then tells you, here's exactly what was going on in my head.
Mm-hmm. Very rare, very rare. Who was that guy? Musa Serantonio. I remember his name. He was he was a convert, became a jihadi, and then he left and he started spilling the beans on the inner workings of the jihad. I really wish I knew where to contact him. It'd be great to talk to him on the show. But
yeah, funny because I think he's out already. It would be interesting to talk to him. Super intelligent guy. He's one of those guys that like masters languages almost instantly and so on. Mm-hmm. And that's what actually that ability made him popular in Islam because he could just like pick up Arabic really quickly and then he's speaking perfect Arabic and so on. But it was also what led him out of Islam because he thought, hey, let me go ahead and learn Aramaic. Then he was reading an Aramaic. He's reading the Aramaic version of the Alexander romance, these legends about Alexander the Great. And he's like, whoa, this sounds like exactly what the Quran is quoting. And then he called the Quran 7th century Alexander the Great fan fiction left Islam. So it was his the ability that made him famous as a da'i made him leave Islam.
That's actually one of the most interesting and imaginative reasons anybody's ever had to leave Islam. You really got to hand it to him for that.
Tough call. I'll go with more jihad.
Okay, how about this? Story out of Hamas. And I thought this was interesting. Jerusalem Post reported that Hamas's Arrow unit pledged to carry out executions against 3 Gazans accused of collaborating with Israel by slitting their throats. And they said that they would broadcast this in public, in audio and video, and also said that at the same time, the limbs of 13 thieves and people who incite chaos and anarchy, that is fitna, that is trouble in the land, will be amputated and their legs will be shot. Where are they getting all this? They must be extremists, am I right? Twisting and hijacking the peaceful religion of Islam.
Yeah, especially when you quote Surah 5, verse 33, pretty much exactly as it stands.
Yes.
It lays out the penalty for causing corruption. Depending on the translation, they put it causing corruption or spreading mischief, things like that. And what's most disturbing about that passage? Well, the second most disturbing thing. The most disturbing thing about the passage is that, like, President Obama, everyone quoted the verse before it and completely massacred what it actually said in order to make Islam sound like a religion of peace. So it's 532, ladies and gentlemen, if you've heard that according to Islam, if anyone kills a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind. That's Surah 5, verse 32. And they take off the beginning, which says that this is a teaching of the children of Israel, which is actually a quote from Talmud. So it's actually funny that the Quran is quoting a passage from the Talmud as authoritative revelation for the children of Israel. But that's what it says about the children of Israel. Then the very next verse talks about Muslims and if you're with Muhammad and so on. And then it's like open massacre season. Talks about all these people you have to kill for the vague. So the most disturbing part is that people quoted the verse before it to show that Islam is a religion of peace, when the very next verse commands killing, dismembering, crucifying people, and so on. But the most disturbing thing about 533 is just about how vague this is. Making mischief in the land, or causing corruption in the land. Well, what counts as corruption? This is used all across the Muslim world when you don't have anything else, anything specific to condemn people of. We've seen Christians sentenced over this in Iran. And if you don't have anything else, you just say, you're causing corruption in the land. How? By preaching another religion or following another religion. If a woman doesn't wear the hijab, you're spreading corruption in the land. You're causing mischief. And so you can use this for anything. Notice an Islamic government can use this for anything it disagrees with. Hey, we don't like what you're doing. So guess what? You're causing corruption in the land. And we get to chop off body parts or crucify you or execute you, whatever we pick.
And I got another story in that line out of Syria. Of course, we had Trump just this morning meeting with Ahmed al-Shara, the longtime leader of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which was a jihad group, was a jihad group in Syria, fought for 11 years to topple the Assad regime, finally succeeded in doing so. And now the guy has trimmed his beard, put on a suit, says he's renounced jihad, and everybody likes him. But meanwhile, in Syria this past week, a group of masked men in military uniform in the town of Rabla, which is inhabited mostly by Christians near Homs, they went into a store, assaulted a young man who was in the store, and sabotaged the store's contents. That is, they started breaking stuff and stole money. Before leaving the area, the gunman threatened to kill the town's residents, called the residents infidels, and insulted the Christian religion. They were angry with this store because it was selling alcoholic beverages. Now, David, I've always been taught that Sharia only applied to Muslims, not to non-Muslims. That's what Islamic apologists in the West have been saying for 20 years. So why would they be upset about a store selling alcohol in a Christian area?
Uh, no idea. It's almost as like we've heard completely wrong.
You mean we've been lied to?
Yeah, it's almost like
Inconceivable.
it's almost like this is meant to dominate the entire world.
You know, that's incredible. You mean like maybe Muhammad said Islam must dominate and not be dominated?
Yeah, something like that.
Incredible. Inconceivable. It's a religion of peace. All right. Okay. France. We have a church in Avignon. So probably this all happened because the people in Avignon were mad that the Pope is going to live in Rome again. They had a run for a while in the 1400s of popes living in, or 1300s of popes living in Avignon. And they were hoping maybe Leo would move back. And that's really what this is all about. But a Catholic priest in southern France was surrounded, insulted, and threatened by a mob of young men shouting the Pope should move to Avignon. No, they were shouting Allahu Akbar. Last Saturday after Mass. And what happened was, this is kind of interesting, David. He's at this church in Avignon, okay? So the priest celebrates Mass. And then a group of young men come up to him at the end of the Mass and say they want to convert to Christianity. And so he invites them into the church. Then, when they bring him into when he brings them into the church, they start to insult him. They start screaming Allahu Akbar, and they say they're going to burn the place down.
Weird.
Do you think they were lying to him when they told him that they wanted to convert to Christianity?
No, of course not. They just changed their minds really quickly for some reason.
And
Come on,
he
Robert.
says,
Who lies? Who lies about this stuff? Come on.
Yeah, you're right. I should have known better. He said, they didn't insult me personally. It was provocation and abusive language directed against the Catholic religion. Now, surely Muslims wouldn't do that.
No,
Must be some mistake.
it has to be.
Yes. Meanwhile, this is Ginny T. You probably saw this. Ginny T is a Twitch streamer. I have no idea what a Twitch streamer is. You probably know what a Twitch streamer is, but me, I have no idea. Ginny T, though, she's one of them. And she went to France. She's from South Korea. And in France, she was doing her streaming. And this gentleman in the picture, you can see him, a man of North African origin, according to the report. He says, "What do you want, you dirty whore? Get out of here." Right on her Twitch stream. Now, that's France today. That's obviously a typical Frenchman. But why was he so angry with her? Do you know?
Have to say, Robert, it's exactly what I would expect in France right now.
Rumor has it that she had gone into a mosque. And of course, she doesn't know from mosques. She's from Korea. And so she was just going around and seeing what she could see in France. But this guy was apparently very angry because non-Muslims, except for purposes of dawah, are not allowed in mosques. You can't just stroll in like you could into a church or a synagogue. And so she aroused the ire of the local French people. This guy, no doubt, had just dropped off a baguette, bottle of wine at his house.
Old Pierre back there.
Yes.
Hey, Francois.
And so he was a bit annoyed with her. Oh, here's another interesting story out of Afghanistan. The Taliban found that 50 Ismaili Shia were forced to convert to Sunni Islam. Those who resisted were beaten or threatened with death, while their children were forced to attend Sunni madrasas. The local authorities also established several madrasas in areas predominantly populated by Ismailis. Now, the Ismaili Shia are one of those peaceful groups, small group within Islam, but often I've seen them invoked as the great hope for the future of Islam, that one day they will all be peaceful. They'll all be Ahmadis and Ismaili Shia and etc.
Uh,
Um, what are the chances, David? What do you think?
well, you can actually just look at the numbers and see why that's doomed to failure, and you would think they would actually pick up on it. So, for anyone who doesn't know, you've got the Ismaili Shias. They tend to be more philosophical. They are way more likely to believe that Jesus was actually crucified according to the Quran. So most Muslims go to 4157, take that, interpret it that in the standard way, and then use that to reinterpret 355, which sounds, if an Arab reads 355, it says that sounds like Jesus died. Ismaili Shias, they go to 355, so this is clearly saying he died, and therefore they reinterpret 4157. But anyway, yeah, they're a minority. So they're a minority, not just of Muslims, but even of Shia Muslims. But I mean, think about this. You've got, when we raise objections to Islam, we get Ahmadis blasting us, Ismaili Shias blasting us, and so on. But these guys are all targets of Islam too. These guys are all targets of Islam too, because they're tiny fractions of the Muslim population. And when Islam comes to town, it's Sunni Islam. It's Sunni Islam, and they will go after you guys and wage jihad on you against hypocrites. Why? Because that's what the Quran says. Surah 9 verse 73 is a command not just to wage jihad against unbelievers, but also against hypocrites, and they regard all you guys as hypocrites. And that's what's amazing. It's like they're in the same boat with the rest of us. They're in the same boat with people like us, and they still defend it.
Yeah.
Knowing they're completely outnumbered, and that if Islam is successful in regaining its strength, that they're targets too, and they keep defending it. It's weird. It's insane. It's like a weird kind of Stockholm syndrome or something.
Yes, I find it utterly baffling because you've got in the case of the Ahmadiyya, of course, you've got the Muslim Brotherhood and groups that are of that same mindset, the Deobandis and so on, persecuting them ruthlessly, and then they align with the same people when they come to the United States. It just it's utterly beyond reason. All right, Uganda. In Uganda, we had David Washume, who was stabbed to death as he made his way back home from 3 days of preaching in the Nalondo, Buwalasi, and Nabu Mali areas. Along with his fellow evangelist Fred Wepuhulu, Washume used Quran verses and biblical references to emphasize the divinity of Christ and the humanity of Muhammad. And so several Muslims became Christians, and then other Muslims began protesting, and they followed Wepuhulu, who survived. He says, as we were nearing our village, we met 3 masked men dressed in Muslim attire with knives, speaking the Arabic language. One shouted in our local language, "They are the ones! They are the ones! Kill! Kill them!" I realized that we were in the midst of militant Muslims. I wrestled with one of them who was holding me tightly, but I managed to escape. My friend, who was held by 2 men, could not. And so they killed the other preacher. And they were angry and said, "You infidel, you will meet Allah in judgment." And this is, of course, because of Islam's prohibition on proselytizing and preaching to Muslims, anything other than Islam. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, another jihad attack. Fulani jihadis crept into Kakaruk village of Gashish district, Barkin Ladi local government area, opened fire and killed people indiscriminately, killed 6 Christians. Actually, they killed 3 and then hacked 3 others to death. And one, let's see, this Christian spokesman said, Bature Ilya Adazaram said, "Is our firm belief that the renewal of these Fulani militant attacks on not only Christians in our communities, but also in other communities of Plateau State and beyond, is among other reasons to drive away Christian victims of terror who are opposed to any form of land grabbing and the expansionist agenda of the Muslim militants." Now, the land grabbing is important because is that not what jihad is really all about? Pretty much wherever it happens?
That's the obsession. It's supposed to be you're at any given moment, you're either taking land or you're preparing to take land. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be endlessly expanding.
Yes. And so people who say, oh, we are interested in these things from a purely religious standpoint, we're not interested in Islam politically, that's just not a concept within Islam. Islam is inherently political and expansionist and wants to seize the land of the infidels.